The leper princess cast out and doomed, until a human came to her rescue and married her. Princess Lyra was born on a cold morning in the crystal palace of the Barani Empire. The sky outside glowed green, and the stars shone like scattered gems over the capital city. Everyone expected joy and celebration. The birth of a princess was always a great event. But when Lyra opened her eyes, the royal doctors noticed something strange on her skin. Faint marks spread across her arms and legs. They called it a sickness of the blood, rare and feared by their people. The elders whispered in corners, worried for the empire's honor. Her parents, King Dalen and Queen Mira, looked at her with confusion and sadness. They had hoped for a strong and perfect child to continue the royal line. They could not understand the marks on her delicate skin. The priests of the empire were called immediately. They examined Lyra carefully and shook their heads. They spoke in solemn voices. "The child is cursed by the stars. She cannot carry the blood of the royal line as she was born to do. She brings shame and danger." The words echoed through the palace halls. The nurses and servants avoided the baby. Some said she might bring misfortune if she touched them. The maids whispered that the princess would die before she could walk. But Bear Lyra's mother held her close. She did not see a curse. "She saw a small, fragile life. She is still our daughter," Queen Mira said softly, but her voice was weak in the sea of fear and gossip. As Lyra grew, her sickness slowly spread. The marks darkened and her skin became rough in some places. She had moments of pain, which she did not understand. She was curious and smart, asking questions about everything. She wanted to learn the languages of the stars, the names of distant planets, and the ways of the galaxy. But the teachers hesitated. They feared touching her. The young princess felt the coldness of rejection even in her earliest memories. Her family tried to hide her at first, keeping her in the inner halls of the palace. The people did not see her, but whispers are hard to stop. News of the cursed princess spread to the streets. Children ran away when they saw her. Merchants refused to bow to her. Adults murmured that anyone who cared for her would be unlucky. Lyra felt the weight of loneliness pressing down. She tried to smile, but smiles were met with silence or fear. She began to wonder if the priests were right. Maybe she was dangerous. Maybe she was doomed. Her father, King Dalen, became distant. He no longer smiled at her. He rarely visited. The king was a proud man, loyal to the laws and customs of his people. The priests told him he must act. They said, "The blood of the empire must be pure. The cursed child must be removed before she brings shame to the throne." The words felt like knives in the hearts of the queen and Lyra. The queen tried to protest, saying that Lyra was still their child, that love was stronger than fear. But the king would not listen. He was trapped between the law, the priests, and the eyes of his empire. One night, the decision was made. Lyra was told she would leave the palace and live on a distant moon colony. It was a harsh place where the empire sent those they wanted to forget. She would be alone, without servants or friends. Only a small allowance of food and water would be provided. Her mother cried quietly as Lyra packed the few clothes and books she was allowed to take. "Remember who you are," her mother whispered, holding her hands. "Even if they call you cursed, you are still my daughter. You are still a princess in my eyes." Lyra did not understand fully. She felt a mix of fear and sadness. The next morning, guards escorted her to the small ship that would take her to exile. She looked back at the palace one last time. The spires gleamed under the green sky. The city that had once celebrated her birth now rejected her. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not cry. She wanted to be brave, as the stories of old princesses told her. The ship's engines roared, and the palace disappeared behind her. The moon colony was nothing like the palace. It was rocky and cold, with little vegetation. The buildings were simple metal structures, gray and harsh. The air smelled of dust and machinery. There were no friendly faces waiting, only the cold wind and empty streets. Lyra realized how alone she was. The other exiles avoided her. Some said the sickness could be contagious. They whispered that the cursed princess might bring death to them all. Lyra walked through the streets quietly, holding her few belongings close. She found a small, empty room in one of the buildings, and there she made a bed on the cold metal floor. At first, she felt weak. She missed her mother's gentle hands, the warmth of the palace halls, the sound of music and laughter. She tried to sleep, but could not. Instead, she stared at the ceiling, counting stars she could see through the small window. She wondered if anyone in the Empire remembered her. She wondered if her father felt regret, or if he had already forgotten her. The nights were long and filled with fear. Lyra learned quickly that she could not rely on anyone. She had to survive on her own. She began to explore the colony during the day. The exiles worked hard to survive. They mined for minerals, repaired old machines, and hunted small creatures for food. Lyra tried to help where she could, but her sickness made work difficult. Her skin would burn under the weak sun, and the marks sometimes caused pain in her joints. Yet she persisted. She learned to cook simple meals, fix broken equipment, and care for herself. Over time, she grew stronger in ways she had never imagined. She realized that survival required more than royal blood. It required courage, patience, and determination. Even in her loneliness, Lyra never lost her curiosity. She studied the stars through a small telescope, learning the shapes of constellations and the movements of planets. She read old books she had brought, absorbing every story and lesson. She practiced writing and math, remembering the lessons she had been taught in the palace. She imagined traveling beyond the Empire, visiting planets no one had seen, meeting beings from other worlds. In these dreams, she felt free. The sickness had taken her place in the Empire, but it could not take her mind, her heart, or her hope. The colony was harsh, but it had its small comforts. There were moments of quiet beauty. The sky above the moon was dark and clear, and the stars were brighter than on the capital world. Lyra often sat outside at night, feeling the wind against her face. She whispered stories to the stars, pretending they were friends who listened. She told them about her mother, about the palace, and about the life she had lost. Though she was lonely, she found small strength in these rituals. She promised herself that she would not give up no matter what the priests had said. She would survive. She would endure. Time passed slowly. Months became years. The Empire moved on, forgetting her as they had planned. Letters from the palace never arrived. The priests pronounced her dead in the minds of the people. Lyra learned to live with the silence. She learned to trust herself. She discovered small joys, like a rare plant growing in a crack in the metal floor, or a bird that somehow survived the harsh moon air. She spoke to these small things as if they were companions. She smiled quietly when she thought no one was watching. These were victories. These were signs that she could live, even if no one believed in her. Yet deep inside, a part of her still longed for companionship. She remembered the warmth of her mother's hands and the gentle laugh of palace friends she could never see again. She wondered if anyone would ever come for her, if anyone would ever see her not as cursed, but as a person. She wondered if humans or other species might exist beyond the Empire who would treat her differently. She did not know the answer, but she did not give up hope. Hope was the only gift the Empire had not taken. One morning, Lyra woke to find the sky brighter than usual. She looked through her telescope and saw a small ship approaching. It was unlike the Empire's vessels, sleek and white, with strange markings. She felt fear and curiosity at the same time. Could this be an enemy? Had the Empire finally come to finish what they had started? She stayed hidden at first, watching carefully. The ship landed softly, and creatures she had never seen stepped out. They moved with confidence but without arrogance. One of them a human, a man named Ethan Brooks. looked around and then smiled at the moon colony as if seeing it for the first time. He carried no weapons. He carried only tools and a bag of supplies. Lyra watched from the shadows. Something about him was different. He did not recoil at the marks on her skin. He did not fear her presence. She felt a strange sense of calm, mixed with hope. Maybe, she thought, not everyone would see her as cursed. Maybe someone could be kind. She did not know his intentions. But for the first time in years, Lyra felt a small spark of possibility. She would survive the Empire. She would endure the curse. And maybe, just maybe, she could find a new kind of life with this human stranger. Lyra watched Ethan Brooks carefully from the edge of the rocky ridge. The human moved slowly, studying the buildings of the moon colony and taking notes in a small device. He did not seem afraid, and he did not seem to notice her at first. Lyra's heart beat fast. Could he be dangerous? The Empire often sent hunters to finish what they had started. But something about his calm movements made her hesitate. He seemed different from the soldiers or priests she had known. After a long moment, Ethan noticed a small figure at the window of one of the buildings. He smiled gently. "Hello," he said softly. His voice carried kindness and curiosity, not judgment. Lyra froze, unsure if she should respond. She had not spoken to anyone in years. Finally, she whispered back, "Who are you?" "I am Ethan," he said, kneeling down so he was closer to her level. "I am human. I come from a planet far from here. I am not here to hurt you." Lyra blinked. A human. She had heard of humans before. They were weak, short-lived, and strange to the galaxy. They were explorers and traders, not rulers or warriors. The Empire often ignored them. Yet Ethan looked confident and calm. Lyra felt a flicker of trust, though she did not know why. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I explore," Ethan said simply. "I look for old places, old machines, and sometimes people who need help. I noticed this colony from space. It looked empty. Lonely. I wanted to see if anyone was here. I did not expect to find you." Lyra narrowed her eyes. No one had found her here in years. The Empire wanted her forgotten. The thought of someone coming all this way for her, not to punish her, was strange. "Why do you care?" she asked cautiously. "I care," Ethan said with a smile, "because everyone deserves kindness. Sickness or exile does not change that." Lyra wanted to believe him, but her heart was heavy with years of fear and pain. She stayed hidden, watching him work. Ethan moved around the colony carefully, checking broken machines and strange tools. He noticed small problems and fixed them quietly, without asking for anything in return. For the first time in years, she felt her mind growing, not shrinking under fear or rejection. Sometimes they worked in silence. Lyra watched him carefully as he moved. He was patient, careful with the machines, and careful with her. She noticed small details, how he smiled at the little successes, how he laughed softly when a tool broke, how he seemed to find beauty in the harsh moon landscape. Slowly, she began to trust him completely. She began to believe that maybe she was not cursed. Maybe someone could see her as she truly was, beyond the sickness and exile. One night they sat outside, looking at the stars. Lyra pointed to a bright cluster and whispered, "That constellation is called the Twin Crowns. It reminds me of my home." "Your home," Ethan said gently. "Do you miss it?" "Sometimes," Lyra admitted. "But they do not want me there. They erased me. My father, my mother, they cannot protect me anymore." "Maybe they cannot," Ethan said, "but you can protect yourself. And now, you do not have to be alone anymore. I am here." Lyra felt warmth in her chest. She had been alone for so long, even when she had survived. Now, for the first time, someone chose to be with her, not out of duty, not out of fear, but out of kindness. She realized that the humans saw her as a person, not as a curse. As days passed, Ethan began exploring further into the colony, finding old equipment and alien technology abandoned by previous exiles. Lyra helped him translate old records, learning the secrets of machines she had never understood before. Together they discovered ways to produce energy more efficiently, ways to recycle water and air, and small medical devices that could help with her condition. Ethan explained that humans had long studied sickness and disease differently from the Empire. They tried to fix problems rather than punish them. Lyra listened intently, her mind opening to new ideas. She realized that humans were strange but clever. They looked at the world differently, and she admired that. Sometimes the other exiles watched from a distance. They were suspicious at first. Humans were rare in this part of space, and the Empire often warned them that humans were weak and untrustworthy. Yet they saw Ethan care for Lyra without fear, without judgment, without expecting anything in return. Slowly they began to accept him. Some even came to help, offering tools or advice. Lyra noticed this, feeling a strange satisfaction. She had begun to create a small community here, not through power, but through kindness and trust. Lyra also began to notice small changes in herself. The marks on her skin still hurt, but she felt stronger in spirit. She smiled more often, laughed sometimes when Ethan made a joke, and began to hope again. She had not dreamed of hope in years. She allowed herself to imagine a future where she could survive, even thrive. She began to feel something else, something she had not expected: gratitude, respect, and perhaps even a budding affection for Ethan. One day Ethan examined her more closely. He used his instruments to check her condition, speaking softly. "Your sickness is still here, but we can manage it," he said. "These treatments will help reduce pain and slow the marks from spreading. It will not erase them, but it will give you strength." Lyra looked at him. She had expected fear, disgust, or avoidance. She did not expect gentle concern. She nodded quietly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Do not thank me yet," Ethan said with a small grin. "We are just beginning." As the days turned into weeks, Lyra and Ethan continued their work. They repaired more machines, purified more water, and even started small gardens using the limited sunlight and nutrients available. Lyra found joy in these small accomplishments. She began to think of herself not as a cursed princess, but as a survivor, someone capable of shaping her own destiny. One evening, as they rested outside, Lyra spoke softly. "I never thought anyone would care about me like this. I thought I was alone forever."
"You were alone," Ethan said, "but you are not now."
"You have choice. You can be strong, and you can be happy. And I will stay with you as long as you want." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She realized that for the first time, someone had chosen her, not for status, not for duty, but because they saw her worth. She could not remember the last time she had felt this way. She smiled, a small but genuine smile. The moon colony was still harsh and lonely, but with Ethan's presence, it became a place of hope. Lyra knew that the Empire had tried to erase her, to cast her aside, and to doom her. Yet here she was, alive, learning, and slowly building a life. She felt a strength she had never known before, and most importantly, she realized that perhaps, in this new human companion, she had found a friend, an ally, and maybe, one day, something more. The stars above shone brightly, as if reflecting her new sense of purpose. She was no longer just the cursed princess. She was Lyra, a girl who had survived the Empire's cruelty and discovered the power of kindness and human companionship. And deep down she felt a spark of hope that the universe might still hold more surprises for her, surprises that could change her life forever. Lyra woke early that morning as the cold wind of the moon brushed her face. She looked around the small room she had made her home and saw Ethan already at work, checking the solar panels outside. He waved at her with a small smile, and she felt warmth in her chest. Over the months she had grown used to his presence. He was patient, steady, and kind. She no longer feared strangers or humans. She trusted him completely. "Good morning," Ethan said. "I found a problem in the water filter last night. We need to fix it before it breaks completely." Lyra nodded and followed him outside. Together they worked, in silence at first, tightening screws, replacing worn parts, and testing the system. Lyra had learned quickly from Ethan, and her hands were steady now. She realized that her skill and intelligence mattered more than her sickness. She was capable, useful, and alive. After the work was done, Ethan sat down next to her on a small rock. "You are stronger than I thought," he said softly. "You have survived years alone. Most would have given up." Lyra looked at him and smiled faintly. "I had no choice," she admitted. "But with you here, it feels easier." "I am glad," Ethan said. He hesitated for a moment, then continued. "Lyra, I want to help you more. We can try human treatments for your sickness. It will not cure everything, but it can reduce the pain and stop the marks from spreading as fast." Lyra's eyes widened. No one had ever offered to help her in such a way. The Empire had always told her she was cursed and beyond repair. The priests had declared her unclean. Even her family had abandoned her. And now, a human, someone from another world entirely, wanted to help. She felt a strange mix of hope and fear. "Will it hurt?" she asked cautiously. "Maybe a little," Ethan admitted. "But it will be worth it. I promise you will feel stronger over time." They spent the next days gathering what they needed. Ethan used his knowledge of human medicine and combined it with the limited alien technology in the colony. Lyra watched him work, fascinated. He explained everything carefully, never treating her like a patient to be feared, but like a partner in learning. He showed her how to take measurements, mix treatments, and monitor progress. She learned quickly, her mind eager and focused. As the treatments began, Lyra felt small improvements. The pain in her joints lessened, her skin became softer in some areas, and the dark marks on her body seemed to slow. She was not cured, but she felt hope for the first time in years. She looked at Ethan one evening as they prepared the next dose. "Thank you," she whispered. "I never thought anyone would help me like this." "You deserve it," Ethan said gently. "I do not care about the Empire or their rules or their curses. You are a person. You are worth helping." Their bond grew deeper over time. They shared meals, watched the stars, and talked for hours. Ethan taught Lyra about humans and their strange ways, their curiosity and their courage. Lyra taught Ethan about her world, the Empire, and the history she had learned as a princess. They laughed together, solved problems together, and even shared quiet moments of comfort when the loneliness of the moon felt too heavy. But not everyone was pleased. Far across the galaxy, the Empire monitored the outer moons. Scouts noticed the human presence and reported it immediately. The Council of Priests convened, furious that a human dared to help the cursed princess. They sent a warning message directly to Ethan. "Leave her or face the Empire's wrath." Ethan read the message calmly, then showed it to Lyra. She felt fear rise in her chest. "They will come for you," she said. "You could be captured, or worse. You should leave." "I cannot," Ethan said firmly. "I am not leaving you. No one can decide your fate but you. If they want to punish me, they can try. But I will not abandon you." Lyra's heart swelled with emotion. She had never experienced such loyalty. She realized that Ethan saw her not as cursed, not as doomed, but as someone worth fighting for. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not try to hide them. She felt a strength inside herself that had grown from years of survival and from the trust she had built with Ethan. The Empire did not act immediately. They sent scouts to observe the colony, to see if their warnings were enough. Lyra and Ethan noticed strange ships in orbit, hiding in the shadows of asteroids. They worked cautiously, hiding some of their improvements and treatments. Yet the knowledge that the Empire watched them made Lyra more determined. She refused to be a victim again. She would fight to live, to learn, and to be free. One evening, as they repaired the water system, Lyra spoke quietly. "Do you think the Empire will ever accept me?" "Maybe not," Ethan said. "But it does not matter what they think. You are stronger than their rules, stronger than their curses. You can live for yourself, not for them, and I will be with you." Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. For the first time, she felt a sense of partnership, not just survival. She had someone who believed in her, someone who would stand beside her no matter the Empire's threats. She realized that she was not weak or doomed. She was alive, capable, and supported. Days turned into weeks, and Lyra's strength continued to grow. She began to explore the surrounding moon, learning its hidden caves and small valleys. She found rare plants and minerals, and Ethan taught her how to use them to improve their colony. She became skilled in mechanics and medicine, her mind sharp and agile. The other exiles who had once avoided her began to respect her. They saw her work with Ethan and realized that she was not cursed. She was capable, intelligent, and kind. One day, while repairing an old communication device, Ethan paused and looked at Lyra. "You have changed," he said. "You are no longer the frightened girl who arrived here. You are strong, brave, and capable. I am proud to work with you." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. She smiled, a genuine smile, not forced or fearful. "I could not have done it without you," she admitted. "You saw me as I am, not as they said I should be. I always will," Ethan said. "You deserve to be seen, Lyra. Not hidden away or forgotten, and together we can make a life here, away from the Empire's cruelty." As the Empire grew impatient, they sent a small fleet to the outer moons. Their goal was clear: capture or destroy the human, and take back control of the princess. Scouts warned Lyra and Ethan of the incoming ships. They prepared the colony, using all the skills and knowledge they had learned. They did not plan to fight with weapons, but they used clever strategies to hide and protect themselves. Lyra realized that survival required courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Together, she and Ethan were ready to face whatever came. The fleet arrived, and the Empire demanded surrender. Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm and firm. "I am not the cursed princess you claim me to be. I am Lyra. I have survived. I have learned, and I will not let fear or old rules control my life. The human beside me chose to help me because he sees my worth. If you want me, you will have to face both of us." The Empire was stunned. They had expected fear, tears, or submission. Instead, they found courage and defiance. The scouts reported back in disbelief. Ethan stood beside her, ready to protect her, not with weapons, but with resolve. He did not bow. He did not plead. He did not retreat. He simply stood, human and alien together, united in trust and respect. The Empire hesitated, unsure how to respond. Lyra realized that she had changed. She was no longer the frightened princess sent into exile. She was a force in her own right, supported by someone who saw her true value. She felt strength in every step, every word, and every glance at Ethan. The universe had cast her aside, but she had found a new path, a new hope, and perhaps even a new life. As night fell over the moon colony, Lyra and Ethan sat outside, watching the stars. They did not speak of fear or threats. Instead, they shared quiet conversation, laughter, and dreams of what could be. Lyra felt her heart lift. She had survived the Empire's cruelty, learned to trust again, and discovered that strength and hope could grow even in the harshest places. Deep inside, she knew that this was only the beginning. The Empire had not yet understood the power of choice, the power of trust, and the power of human kindness. And together, Lyra and Ethan were ready to show them the Empire had sent messages in ships. But Lyra and Ethan remained calm. They had prepared the colony, hiding supplies, strengthening buildings, and creating clever traps to protect themselves. Yet Lyra felt the weight of her past pressing down. She remembered her exile, the years of loneliness, and the fear she had felt as a child. Now, with Ethan beside her, she felt strength, but also the responsibility to face the Empire's judgment. One morning, Ethan said, "We cannot hide forever. If the Empire wants to challenge us, we must meet them. Not with weapons, but with courage and reason." Lyra looked at him, unsure. "You mean, talk to them?" "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "We will show them that fear does not define a person, and that kindness and courage are stronger than their rules." Together, they prepared a small message to the Empire. Lyra wrote carefully, her words strong but respectful. She explained her life, the suffering she had endured, and the help Ethan had given her. She described how she had learned, grown, and survived. She spoke of her intelligence, courage, and the skills she had developed during exile. She demanded recognition not for power or revenge, but for justice and the chance to live freely. When the message was ready, Ethan transmitted it across the galaxy. The Empire received it with shock and anger. Many could not believe that a human had helped a cursed princess and that she had dared to speak so boldly. The Council of Priests convened again, debating how to respond. Some wanted immediate punishment. Others hesitated, unsure how to deal with her courage and the human beside her. Lyra knew that words alone would not be enough. She needed to show the Empire her strength. She and Ethan prepared the colony for the Empire's arrival. They set up clever decoys, repaired all systems, and organized the small exiles who remained to help. Ethan taught Lyra how to lead, how to make decisions calmly under pressure, and how to inspire others. Lyra realized that she was no longer the frightened child exiled from her home. She was a leader, capable of guiding others, and supported by someone who truly respected her. The Empire finally sent a fleet to enforce their will. They demanded Lyra's surrender, expecting fear and obedience. Instead, they found her standing outside the colony, calm and resolute, with Ethan at her side. Lyra stepped forward, her voice clear. "I am Lyra. I was cast out because of fear and old rules. I have survived, learned, and grown. This human has helped me, not out of fear or duty, but out of choice. I am not cursed. I am alive, and I will not be controlled by fear or old laws." The Empire's commanders were stunned. They had expected a broken girl, fearful and submissive. Instead, they saw courage, wisdom, and strength. Ethan spoke beside her, his voice steady. "The Empire judges worth by fear and tradition. We judge worth by courage, kindness, and choice. This girl is brave, capable, and alive. No curse can change that. We will not surrender to fear or old rules." Whispers spread among the Empire's soldiers and scouts. Some had never seen a human speak with such confidence, or a princess defend herself so boldly. They hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Lyra noticed their doubt and felt a surge of confidence. She had faced exile, abandonment, and fear. She could face this challenge too. The Empire demanded a response. Some priests argued for punishment, claiming that allowing her to live would weaken the Empire's authority. Others questioned whether fear and cruelty were truly strength. Lyra realized that she had already begun to change their perception. Courage and choice could challenge tradition. The Empire had tried to break her, but she had grown stronger. She smiled quietly, knowing that fear no longer ruled her life. One evening, after the fleet had retreated slightly to regroup, Ethan approached Lyra. He took her hands in his. "You have faced the Empire bravely," he said softly. "You are more than they ever expected, and I want to make sure you are never alone again." Lyra looked at him, unsure what he meant. Ethan knelt on one knee in the cold moon dust. "Lyra," he said, "I know the universe is harsh and full of fear. I know the Empire tried to cast you aside, but I see your strength, your courage, and your heart. I choose you. Not because of duty, not because of status, but because I care for you. Will you marry me?" Lyra froze, tears filling her eyes. She had never imagined such a thing. A human, someone who had chosen her freely, asking to share his life with her. She thought of all the years of loneliness, fear, and exile. She thought of the small spark of hope Ethan had given her, and she realized that she could choose happiness, even in the shadow of the Empire. "Yes," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. "Yes, I will." The moment was simple, yet powerful. Ethan took her hand and they stood together facing the stars and the distant Empire. They did not need weapons or armies. They had courage, trust, and a choice. The universe seemed to pause, as if acknowledging the power of that decision. The news of their marriage spread quickly. Humans celebrated, other species whispered, and the Empire struggled to understand. Some tried to mock them, claiming the human was weak and the princess was doomed. Yet others watched, curious and impressed, seeing the courage it took to defy tradition and fear. Lyra and Ethan did not respond to mockery. They focused on building their life together, on strengthening the colony, and on proving that choice and compassion were stronger than fear. As the weeks passed, they worked together to improve life on the moon. Ethan continued human treatments for Lyra, helping her manage pain and improve strength. Lyra taught the other exiles new skills, showing them that they could survive and thrive even in harsh conditions. The colony grew more livable, more organized, and more hopeful. The Empire continued to observe, but they hesitated to act against a princess who now commanded respect and a human who could not be intimidated. Lyra realized that the human beside her had given her more than life. He had given her dignity, choice, and love. She no longer feared the Empire, nor did she doubt her worth. She was a princess not because of blood, but because of courage, compassion, and the strength to survive. And with Ethan at her side, she felt ready for anything the universe might send. One night as they watched the stars together, Lyra whispered, "I never imagined this, that someone could care for me like you do." That I could feel hope again. "Hope is not given," Ethan said. "It is chosen, and you chose to survive, to trust, and to grow. Now we choose together, Lyra. Together we face the universe." She leaned against him, feeling the warmth and strength he offered. For the first time in her life, Lyra knew that exile, sickness, and fear could not define her. They saw her courage and determination, and they began to follow her lead. She taught them to repair equipment, purify water, and even try small experiments that improved life on the moon. Ethan guided her gently, showing how human methods could combine with alien knowledge. Lyra realized that her exile had given her skills and strength she could never have learned in the palace. She had become more than a princess. She had become a leader. News of the human-princess partnership spread across the stars. Some laughed, calling it foolish, but others watched carefully. They had never seen a human stand confidently beside an alien princess, and they had never seen a princess speak and act with such strength despite exile and sickness. Whispers reached the Empire. Many were unsure how to respond. Some priests and council members still wanted to punish them, but others began to question the old laws and fears that had cast Lyra away. One day a ship from the Empire arrived, not with weapons, but with envoys and messengers. They sought an audience with Lyra. She met them outside, dressed simply but with confidence. Ethan stood beside her, calm and steady. The envoys bowed slightly, wary of her courage and the human beside her. Lyra spoke first. "I am Lyra," she said clearly. "I was cast out because of fear and old rules. I survived. I learned. I grew. And now I live with dignity and strength. The Empire must understand that worth is not decided by sickness, birth, or tradition. It is decided by courage, choice, and compassion. I am alive. I am capable. I am a leader, and I will not be controlled by fear." The envoys were silent. They had not expected such words, such clarity, and such authority from someone they had believed doomed. Ethan spoke next. The Empire judges worth by rules and fear. We judge worth by courage, kindness, and choice. Lyra has shown all of these. We are not asking for permission. We are showing what is possible when fear does not rule. The Empire realized that they could not force her, without shame or defeat. Lyra and Ethan had not only survived, but they had created a living example of courage and hope. The exiles had rallied behind her, showing that she could lead, teach, and inspire. The Empire's old laws had failed to erase her. Instead, she had grown stronger, and the galaxy had noticed. Lyra began to visit nearby colonies, showing them how to survive, build, and thrive. She spoke of courage, compassion, and the value of choice. She helped exiles learn skills and rebuild communities. She became a symbol of hope across the stars, a princess who had been cast out and returned, stronger than anyone imagined. Ethan was always at her side, helping, guiding, and sharing knowledge. Together they showed that cooperation between humans and aliens could accomplish what fear and tradition never could. Slowly the Empire began to change. Some leaders stepped down, realizing that fear and cruelty were not strength. The Council of Priests debated new rules, laws that valued life, learning, and courage. Lyra did not seek revenge. She wanted only reform, to create a world where no one would be cast out for sickness or fear. The Empire watched her example, humbled and cautious, learning that compassion could be a more powerful tool than control. Lyra and Ethan also shared moments of quiet life. They explored the moon together, watched the stars, and dreamed of distant worlds. Sometimes Lyra reflected on her past, the palace, the exile, the fear, and the years of loneliness. She realized that without those trials, she would not have learned her strength, nor would she have discovered Ethan or the hope that came with human kindness. She smiled quietly, knowing that even suffering could lead to something beautiful. One evening, as they sat on a ridge looking at the galaxy, Ethan took her hand. "You have changed more than anyone could have imagined," he said. "You are more than a princess, more than a survivor. You are a leader, a teacher, and a force in this universe, and I am proud to call you my partner." Lyra leaned against him, feeling the warmth of his hand and the comfort of his presence. "I never thought someone would see me for who I really am," she said softly. "Not the marks, not the exile, not the curse, just me. And now, I feel alive, stronger than ever, and ready for anything." "You are alive," Ethan said, "and together we can face anything. We choose our path, and no one else can take that away." The Empire slowly recognized her accomplishments. Other princesses, nobles, and citizens began to reconsider their traditions. They saw that casting out those who were different was not strength. Lyra had survived exile, faced danger, and learned skills that even the Empire could not teach. She had shown courage in the face of fear and kindness where others expected cruelty. Her example inspired change. Lyra and Ethan continued to grow stronger together. They repaired more colonies, helped exiles, and shared knowledge across the stars. Humans and aliens learned from them, building partnerships and communities that had never existed before. Lyra realized that her life had been shaped by hardship, but it had also been shaped by choice, love, and courage. She was not the cursed princess of legend. She was the Leper princess reborn, wise, strong, and full of hope. One day, as they prepared a small celebration with the exiles who had joined them, Lyra looked at Ethan. "I am glad you came," she said simply. "You changed everything for me." "No," Ethan said, smiling, "you changed everything. You chose to survive, to learn, and to be brave. I only helped you see it." Lyra felt tears in her eyes. For the first time, she felt truly free. Free from fear, free from exile, and free from the judgment of others. She had found love, strength, and hope. She had survived what the Empire thought would destroy her, and she had discovered that courage and kindness were stronger than any curse. As night fell over the colony, the stars shone brighter than ever. Lyra and Ethan sat together hand in hand, looking at the vast galaxy. She realized that her journey had not ended. It had only begun. She would continue to help others, continue to inspire change, and continue to live fully, with courage and love as her guide. And in that moment, she knew the truth. She was not the cursed princess cast out and doomed. She was the Leper princess reborn, a symbol of hope, and the universe had finally seen her worth. With Ethan by her side, she could face anything. The Empire could watch, the galaxy could whisper, and the stars could shine as they would. She had survived, she had loved, and she had chosen her path. And in the endless expanse of space, Lyra knew that she was truly alive, free, and ready to shape her destiny with courage, hope, and love. The colonies thrived under her guidance. Humans and aliens worked together, sharing knowledge and resources. Lyra and Ethan became teachers and leaders, showing that even in a harsh universe, life could flourish when fear was replaced with kindness. The Empire's old laws faded slowly, as leaders learned that strength came from compassion, not cruelty. And so, the Leper princess, once cast out and doomed, became a queen of hearts, a symbol of survival, and a partner in a shared life filled with love and possibility. She had faced exile, sickness, and rejection, and she had won, not through power or blood, but through courage, learning, and the choice to live fully and bravely. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as if celebrating the triumph of hope over fear. Lyra held Ethan's hand, feeling the strength of their bond and the promise of the future. Together they had changed not only their lives but the galaxy itself, and for the first time Lyra felt complete peace. She had survived, she had loved, and she was finally home. She was alive, she was loved, and she had chosen her own path. The Empire could watch, they could doubt, and they could judge, but they could not take away her courage or the bond she had with Ethan. As the stars shone above, Lyra and Ethan made quiet plans for the future. They dreamed of exploration, learning, and helping others. They spoke of distant worlds, new knowledge, and the hope they could bring to others like them. The universe was vast and uncertain, but together they felt unstoppable. Courage, kindness, and choice had triumphed over fear. And Lyra, the princess cast out and doomed, had found a life filled with strength, love, and possibility. The Empire would not forget them. Some would resist, some would plot, and some would learn from their courage. But Lyra no longer feared what others thought. She had survived the worst the galaxy had offered, and now she had something stronger than fear or tradition. A partner who loved her, respect that could not be denied, and a life that was truly her own. And so, on that cold moon under the endless stars, Lyra and Ethan began the next chapter of their story. They were no longer exile and human stranger. They were partners, equals, and pioneers in a universe that had once tried to erase her. Together, they were unstoppable, ready to face the galaxy and prove that courage, compassion, and love could triumph over even the harshest darkness. The days after Lyra and Ethan's marriage were filled with change. The small moon colony became a place of hope and life. Lyra continued human treatments for her skin, which eased her pain and slowed the marks. Though her sickness remained, it no longer defined her. She could walk, run, and work alongside Ethan with energy she had never known. Together they repaired old machines, grew small gardens, and organized the colony for safety and comfort. The exiles who had once avoided Lyra now looked up to her. He cleaned the water supply system and repaired the solar panels. Slowly, the colony became more livable. Lyra saw that he was not just curious, he was helping. After a few days, Ethan left small supplies near the building where Lyra stayed. Clean water, some preserved food, blankets, and a few basic tools. She found them one morning and felt shock and disbelief. No one had brought her anything in years. Her hands trembled as she touched the supplies. Someone cared enough to help her. Someone she had just met. She did not know how to feel. She wanted to run, to hide, but a small voice inside told her she could trust him. Finally, Lyra decided to meet Ethan. She stepped outside one morning, the cold wind brushing against her skin. Ethan looked up and smiled warmly. "Good morning," he said. "I see you finally came out." Lyra hesitated. "Why are you helping me?" she asked again. "Because it is the right thing to do," Ethan said simply. "Because no one should be alone, especially not someone who is kind and brave, even if the Empire says otherwise." Lyra studied him. His eyes were honest. She saw no fear, no judgment. She felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. She nodded slowly. "Then, will you stay a while?" "If you want me to," Ethan replied. He did not force his presence. He waited for her choice. Over the next weeks, Ethan taught Lyra simple things to make life easier. He showed her how to repair broken equipment, how to purify water more efficiently, and how to organize food supplies. He also asked about her knowledge. Lyra was surprised. He wanted to hear about her education, about the things she had learned in the palace. She found herself telling him stories of her childhood, the stars she had studied, and the books she had read. Ethan listened without interrupting, with patience and respect. He asked questions that made her think deeper.